So Mike, did you ever fly the Jag at Red Flag?
I did fly a Jag at Red Flag, yeah. It was a sort of typical Jag sortie of tanking beforehand and then dropping down into low level, trying to evade all the F-15s and F-16s who are trying to shoot you down, and then dropped a few bombs out in Red Flag as well on the Nellis Ranges. I think one of the most interesting memories of flying the Jag out there was actually trying to tank off a VC-10 up at about 20,000 feet. And not having the performance in the Jag to get behind and actually tank with the VC-10, and had to request a thing called a toboggan. And so you say, I'm struggling on Buster, struggling for performance, request a toboggan, and what that meant was the VC-10 would then lower its nose and start a descent, and then you had, using gravity and the burners, you then had enough power on the Jag to then go downhill and speed up to connect with the VC-10 and then plug in. So the toboggan was something that I remember from Red Flag Jag days, not needed in the Typhoon.
Yeah, it didn't have to go into min reheat, or you had two switches or something?
Yeah, you had these things called part throttle reheat, which gave you a kind of bit of burner, which you definitely needed.
Yeah. So how did the Americans view the Jag?
I think the Americans were a bit intrigued by the Jag.
Yeah.
The thing is, I was flying at the end of its days, but you've got to really look at it in the context of the sort of 70s, 80s and 90s, where it's a really potent strike platform and really well respected, and it had a really good reconnaissance capability as well. It had a great pod on it, so a great tactical low-level reconnaissance capability. So when you look at it through the sort of lens of the Cold War, that's really where the Jaguar was, in its element. And there are pilots who've flown, way more hours than me. I just caught the tail end of it.
Yeah, I think there was a brilliant bit in the book where I think you were behind it. Was it a B2? It just must have looked like quite the contrast there, Jag and a B2.
Oh yeah, and I got into trouble with the AOC actually, because I was a QI on 41 Squadron at the time, and we went out to Red Flag and we were taxiing out, and I was behind the B2, so this huge wing, and then there were a couple of Jags, and then over my right shoulder were these F117s as well.
Oh, yes.
And so there was stealth in front and there was stealth behind and there was us. And I think that day we had a Paveway 3 on one jet, because you couldn't carry the Paveway 3 and a tiled pod, so I had the tiled pod, the other guy had the Paveway 3, so we were bringing one bomb to the party between the pair of us, and these stealth jets obviously had it all wrapped up. And got back to Colchester, and there was a happy hour, and I remember just then the AOC came up and said, "Oh, how was Red Flag, Sutton?" And I said, "Well, I think the Jag might have had its day." And that wasn't a good thing to say to a two-star. He wasn't very happy with that, and he marched over to talk to my boss. But it was quite clear that it kind of had by that time.